Hello, Master Numerologist Alvin, and today I would like to continue my series on exit points, sometimes referred to as transitional numbers. An exit point is the day, the month, the year, and the age that the soul leaves the body on. Today, I would like to talk about Mr. Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was an American entertainer, primarily a dancer and a singer. He also had many acting roles on stage and screen, and was noted for his impersonations of actors and other celebrities. When I think of Sammy Davis Jr., the words that pop in my mind are versatility. Sammy Davis Jr. made his transition on May the 16th, 1990, at the young tender age of 64. He died from throat cancer. Sammy Davis Jr. first subchords the number 5 because May is the 5th month. Now, those who have been following my numerological analysis for these last few months, by now I hope, has come to understand a little bit more about the nature of the number 5. The number 5 has many different types of aspects, as so do all other previous 8 vibrational energy. But it appears that the number 5 is getting a lot of individuals in trouble. So let me spend a little bit more time breaking down one of the aspects of the number 5. One of its strongest aspects is that of freedom. And as I said before the soul incarnates into the body, it's free. It's free of limitation. Once it enters into the physical body, it becomes restricted and confined. And it has a hard time making that adjustment. And so it looks for ways to escape, to leave the physical body, or to leave the burdens that physical life places upon the soul's journey. So freedom is a very strong urge for the number 5 energy. So most individuals abuse the freedom. Now, when we was raised by our parents set up parameters, boundaries. They have rules and regulations. And of course, we as children, sometimes we rebel against their rules and their regulations, not understanding that we needed to have some type of structuring in our lives. But we was not in awareness of why that structuring was important. So when we are raised by our parents sets up parameters. They try to lay down strong foundations. Sometimes we, the children, huff and puff because we feel that these rules are too confining and we can't wait to be grown so that we can have the freedom to do the things that we want to do. And we cannot wait until we are allowed to live our lives the way we choose. So eventually we come of age and we move out. And now we have our freedom to explore. So we explore sex, uh, we stay out late, we start experimenting with drugs and drinking and eating and whatever we want. We're grown now. We do what we want to do. But before we know it, our freedom of choice has placed us in situations that challenge us. For example, if we engage in sex without the proper protection, then The ladies can become pregnant or sexual transmitted diseases. So we needed boundaries, perimeters when it comes to sex. If we don't set up a structure around the freedom, we can abuse that freedom. And a lot of times we're not even conscious of that abuse. Another example, let's say eating, it becomes excessive and we start to pick up weight, we start to become obese, and there's a whole host of problems derived from obesity. So we have to set up parameters. We have to set up discipline when it comes to eating. Okay, another one. You experiment with drugs and alcohol, but then that can lead us to addictions. So freedom without parameters can lead us to a reckless life. So you need some type of structure around the freedom. That's why the four energy is like a gate, like a box that tries to keep the five energy within parameters. So we just don't escape and just start abusing the freedom. Freedom is good as long as it's not abused and as long as it's a conscious type of freedom. Now, there's another aspect to the number five, and that is diversity and versatility. And it is in this area that Sammy Davis Jr. excelled in. For an example, he was a musician and he was known to play multiple different types of instruments. Tap dancer and a dancer, singer, impersonator, comedian, actor on Broadway, actor in theater, movies, and television, club performance, and he done it all perfectly. Now that's a good strong five vibrational energy that it has the power to do multiple things, good things, positive things, forward moving things. And Simon Davis Jr. was able to take advantage of the very strong five urge to be versatile. Now, Simon Davis Jr. Second subcore is the number 7, which consists of two sub-elements, the 1 and the 6. Now, the 7 energy is an energy that's more reserved. It's more contemplative. It's a it's a inner type of vibration, whereas the 5 is outer, then the 7 is inner. Okay? If you have a combination 5-7 combination, it means that the inner individual will enjoy the physical lifestyle. So, for example, a 7 energy enjoys being inside of a cave. It finds peace within itself. But if it has a sub-core or a sub-element of a 5 energy, then it would also enjoy coming out of that cave and also experiencing what the physical life has to offer. And at the same time, the 7 energy would inject into the physical experience the 7 spiritual truths and revelations. Okay? But let's go back to the two sub-elements that makes up Sammy Davis Jr.'s second sub-core, which is the number 7. It's the 1 and the 6. Now, the first sub-element is the number 1, and it reveals a man with great courage and strong willpower. And Sammy Davis Jr. had a tremendous amount of willpower and courage because at the time there was a lot of prejudice and a lot of racism in America. And as a performer, a lot of times he was not allowed to come in through the front entrance. He had to come through the back entrance. And there's an episode in which, when he was in the military, there was some white men observing him talking to a white woman, and they took him outside, they stripped him naked, and they painted his body white because they felt that he wanted to be white solely because he was talking to a white officer. And so he had to withstand a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, and verbal abuse. So that one energy allowed him to strengthen up. Those experiences made him tougher, strengthen him up. Now, the second sub-element, which is the number 6 energy, and that played a very important role in his life because he really did a lot of his performances with his father and with his uncle. And that's a very strong 6 energy. There was a trio for years. And it was because of his father and his uncle that Sammy Davis Jr. had the opportunity to be able to perform. So the 6 energy. So that's one, and that 6 created his angelic number 7. Now the 7 energy rules all things of a spiritual, metaphysical, and traditional way. And the 7 energy played a very important role in Sammy Davis Jr. because the 7 energy also rules the angelic realm. And he had 2 incidents in his life in which the angels actually intervened into his life. Ordinarily, angels do not intervene. But when an emergency arrives, and it's not that soul's time to leave the body, angels have been known to intervene and to prevent death from taking the individual. And so that happened to Sammy Davis twice. The first time was when Sammy was involved in a car crash in which he lost his left eye. But before he lost his consciousness, he prayed and he asked for his life to be saved, and it was. The second time, Sammy tried to commit suicide due to the pressures from the negative media coverage that he was enduring, which led to him drinking, which led to a sense of low self-esteem, low self-worth. And when an individual feel as though they have nothing to offer, then they don't feel as though life is worth living. And so he was at a very low point, and he decided to take his life by driving his car over a hill, like over a cliff. But as soon as he got to the edge of this cliff, the axle broke, and the car just stopped. That was the angels intervening once again. So a very strong 7 vibration. Now, Sammy Davis Jr.'s third subcore is the number 1. And that consists of 4 sub-elements, the 1, the 9, the 9, and the 0, because that's when he made his transition in 1990. And those double 9s are indicators of an individual who had much compassion, and he embraced humanity, and he embraced life. See, Sammy Davis Jr. was the type of man in which he broke a lot of barriers. For example, another 7 energy, he converted to Judaism, which raised a lot of eyebrows, and he got a lot of slack because of that. But he never really harbored any hostility towards those that was being hostile to him. That's a very strong non-vibrational trait. Do unto others as you would like for them to do unto you. Even though they are not doing unto him the way that they should have, he still understood the value of being able to give them love in spite of the hatred that they was giving him. That's what those double 9s are indicating. Okay? And the first sub-element of the number 1 only adds more fuel to a personality known as Mr. Entertainment. Now, If we take a look at all four of the sub-elements of 1990, when we add those four sub-elements together, we're coming back to a one energy. And it's bringing us back to Mr. Original, Sammy Davis Jr., the number one. Now, let's add our first subchord, number 5, to our second two sub-elements of 16, so 16 plus 5, to our third four sub-elements, 1990. So when we add those when we add the 5 to the 16 to 1990, we're going to get a compound number of 2011, reduced down to Sammy's major chord of the number 4. And the number 4 energy is the worker. He was a hard worker. He was a hard-working man. He worked hard in all of his professions, regardless if he was singing, dancing, acting, being an impersonator. He always came prepared, and he always gave it 150%. And he asked those that was the musicians, if he gave 150, will they be willing to give 110? So the 4 energy is an energy of a hard worker. It also is an energy of an individual that may have had a hard life. But in this case, it meant that if you put the work out, then you will be greatly rewarded. And he was greatly rewarded because of his strong work ethic. So that was his major chord, with the number 4 energy. But now the 4 energy also rules the planet Earth. And Sammy used his legs to do a lot of tap dancing, making direct contact with the Earth. And by creating that contact with the Earth with his feet, he created music that brought joy to millions around the world. Now, Mr. Sammy Davis Jr. left his body at the age of 64. The first sub-age chord is number 6, which revealed a personality who loved his family and his friends. And one of his best friends was Frank Sinatra. But he grew up in a musical family. He performed with his uncle and his father. So that 6th energy was very strong and very prevalent. The 4 energy, once again, is an individual that believed that if he was going to accomplish something, he wanted to practice so that he could be the best at it. If you're going to do it, then give it 150%. So that 4 energy resurfaces again, which is just another strong indicator how not only did he build platforms, he broke down platforms. He broke down barriers. He was able to break that color line that existed in his day, where blacks weren't allowed to come through the front door, or blacks could not perform at this theater, or blacks couldn't perform in movies. He was able to break down a lot of those barriers. So a 4 energy is also an energy that tears down outworn foundations. A 4 comes to break down energies that is no longer serving their purpose. Okay? Now, when you add both of the sub-age chords together, the 6 and the 4, you come back to the 10, and you come back to the number 1, Mr. Wonderful. He was known as Mr. Wonderful. Now, at his funeral, or I believe it was his funeral, the Reverend Jesse Jackson spoke and gave a eulogy. And this was Jesse Jackson. This is what Jesse Jackson had to say about Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Sammy Davis Jr. He said that Sammy Davis Jr. was not the last of his kind as being said on television today. not the last of his kind. There was no Sammy Davis Jr. before Sammy Davis Jr., and there is no Sammy Davis Jr. after he leaves. There's only one Sammy Davis Jr., and there is no Sammy Davis Jr. on the horizon. Sammy Davis Jr. was the only one of his kind. And that about sums it all up perfectly. So rest in peace, my brother Sammy Davis Jr. Thank you for the gifts that you blessed us with. Thank you for the memories. And thank you for your strength. And thank you for your courage. Now, my next video is going to be on another courageous individual that also broke color lines. And I'm talking about the great baseball player, Jackie Robinson. So until my next video, I want everybody to understand that God is closer to you than wetness in a tear. Closer than the wetness in a tear. And you don't have to look outside of yourself for God. Only thing you have to do is turn your gaze within. And God is there with a smiling face, open hearts, and open hands to receive you. You are His beloved child, and He is your everlasting Father. So until the next video, everybody keep your heads up. And remember, you are what you think. Think positive thoughts, think uplifting thoughts. Always affirm, I am that I am. Peace.